Hey boys and girls, welcome to Levy School. Welcome back to Levy School, where we answer all the most common questions, address all the most common concerns, and hopefully clear up some of the most common misconceptions regarding school levies in general, and more specifically, the levy up for Anthony Wayne schools on the November ballot. The question for Levy School today is, what will this levy pay for? So let's review. This is a 5-year, $2.42 million operating levy that's going to generate $3.3 million of operating revenue for the school system. But what constitutes an operating expense? It's not a super easy question to answer, but here's one way to think about it. An operating expense is anything that the district requires to operate on a day-to-day basis. Non-operating expenses are things that we purchase that have a lifespan of 5 years or more. Think things like assets. So school districts buy a lot of things. They pay for lots and lots of stuff. Whiteboards and toilet paper, health insurance and hot dog buns, teachers and erasers. Not everything is an operating expense. Some things are operating expenses and some things are not. So let's try a quiz. Health insurance.
Operating?
That's correct. Soccer balls.
Not operating.
Also correct. New football stadium.
Not operating.
That's correct. Pens and pencils.
Operating?
That's correct. That's a classroom supply. Police officers that staff a sporting event.
Definitely operating. It's a person's salary.
That's a great thought, and if it were a teacher or administrator, you'd be correct. This isn't your fault. This was actually a trick question. Paying police officers to staff a sporting event is actually an athletic department expense, and the athletic department does not benefit from an operating levy. They actually generate their own budget largely through ticket sales. How about hot dog buns?
Operating?
Again, trick question. I don't know if you knew this, but the food service department is entirely independent. So they pay for all of their supplies and all of their personnel salaries from the sale of their own products. Here's the point, or at least one point. Operating expenses are the nuts and bolts of operating a school system every day. It's related to teachers' salaries and their benefits. It's stuff like lights and heating and air conditioning, classroom supplies, bus fuel. So operating dollars pay for the person driving the bus, but they don't pay for the bus itself. Yes, ma'am, question.
Okay, so how does the school pay for everything else?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, it's not a super simple answer. The district has something like 25 different funds that it uses to pay for different things. And school systems, because they're a government entity, a public agency, they are highly regulated. What they are allowed to spend money on and not allowed to spend money on, there's a lot of oversight. So just because you walk into a building and you see something doesn't mean it's an operating expense. So for instance, if you walk into an elementary school and you see a super fancy 3D printer, there's a really good chance that 3D printer was either donated to the district or it was paid for by a federal or state grant that our really talented teachers and administrators wrote as part of their job, not an operating expense. So things like a new football stadium are not paid for with an operating levy. The levy that's going to be on the November 5th ballot is for teacher salaries and benefits, lights, heat, AC, school, classroom supplies, bus fuel so we can get kids to and from their buildings. It is probably the least attractive ask you could make of somebody, but it happens to be the one that is most directly connected to the core mission of a school system to educate kids. So again, this is a sacrifice. Voting yes for a levy and choosing to have your taxes increased, it's not fun. Nobody wants to do it, but we do it because it's a shared value. We recognize that educating every kid in a community is both noble and also essential to our shared prosperity. And this particular sacrifice is a temporary operating revenue increase for the district so that we can pay for the essentials. Teacher salaries and benefits, school supplies, light, heat, AC, all the stuff that is necessary for kids to get from their home to a building so that a talented, educated, passionate educator can sit with them and help them learn. Someone at some point in your life made the financial sacrifice so that you could have teachers like that, so that you had school supplies and you had heat and AC and you had bathrooms at the football stadium so you could use the restroom and soap so hopefully you could wash your hands afterward. I'm incredibly grateful for the people that made those sacrifices so I could have an education. I hope you feel grateful too. I feel a sense of responsibility to do for others what was done for me. I hope you feel the same way. If you do, join us. Vote yes for Anthony Wayne Schools on November 5th. Thanks for attending. We'll see you back here for our next episode of Levy School, where we'll talk about why do districts like Anthony Wayne always put up tax levies.